But Randy, it's sure that the more freedom you have as a kid, the more creative you become. And then with freedom, you have to be able to carry the consequences of the decisions that you make. And I was taught at a very early age that trust is vital in anything you do. You've got to trust the person that gives you the freedom, and the person that gives you the freedom have to trust you and your decision making for you to be able to go out there and take the responsibility and all the consequences if things could happen or go wrong. So I was given the rule that at 6 o'clock at night I have to be at home. I didn't have to tell my parents where I was going. But to that rule of being home at 6 o'clock, there was you should get back home in the way that you left home. Don't come back home with injuries. Don't come back home, with broken legs or, bleeding everywhere. Try and stay intact. And that, I think, was really important for me because I was an active child that loved the outdoors. That gave me, first of all, the possibility to head off in any direction that I wanted to go. And not only discover new land, but discover new people. And the more people you discover, the better you understand the surrounding because local people know their local spot better than anybody else. And that's where I started learning from local people along the way, asking them questions. Where is the most interesting place to go? The rivers, the caves, the trees, the mountains allowed me to be able to discover the value of people and then their knowledge locally and what they knew and could do better than I could. So that then became a little bit like a reservoir of information that I used knowledge of other people to enrich my life as a kid. And 6 o'clock, when 6 o'clock arrived, I was at home because it was such an interesting life as a kid that you could go out and discover other people and other places. But at the same time, you learn something. And the moment you enrich your life with knowledge that you wouldn't get at home or at school, that's where you want to abide to that one rule that would keep on giving you the freedom to go out there and explore.
So you had all this freedom. When your parents gave you your first bike when you were 8 years old, you decided you wanted to visit your uncle and cousins. Not the uncle who lived 7.5 miles away, which didn't interest you. You wanted to visit your uncle who lived on a farm nearly 190 miles away. You did, in fact, tell your dad you were going to visit your uncle, but you didn't tell him which one because you were afraid that he would say no. Can you tell us what happened next? And in Search of Excellence, how important is it to take responsibility and admit when you do something wrong rather than wait and get caught, which is something a lot of people do, regardless of your age and regardless if we're talking about our personal lives or our professional lives?
I think that we're afraid of the consequences of mistakes. And when you get taught to be able to take the consequences of your mistakes as a process of learning, it becomes an important educational tool. So I wanted to go and visit my cousins that were 300 kilometers away or 170 miles, like you said, away. And I knew that maybe my father wouldn't allow me to do it because even in my small mind, it was a far distance to travel. And that's why I only told him half the truth. I didn't lie to him. I wanted him to inform him that I was going to visit my cousins, but I didn't specify if it was the cousins that were 7 miles away or the cousins that were 170 miles away. And like that, I didn't lie to him. But at the end of the day, he knew that I never told him where I was going. So the moment that I give him information, it's most probably because I was thinking of going to the cousins that lived far away. I knew that it was going to take me more than one day to get there, and it was going to take me the weekend. So I jumped on my bike. I took a couple of pieces of bread and dry rusks from home, and then I head off with the small little legs and small little wings, trying to cycle as far as I could. 6 o'clock arrived. My father knew I wasn't at home, so he called his brother and said, "Listen, was Mike there today?" And he said, no, he wasn't. And he knew that I was trying to head to the cousins that lived 3 days cycle away. And when he arrived, he used the therapy of silence. So he was always open to discussions. And that's a very important educative tool that we can use in the education that we can give our kids today. When I arrived back home at 6 o'clock, my father was there. At 6 o'clock, I could speak to my father. It was my time with him. He never asked me where I was or what I did. I always wanted to share what I did with him. And that opened the communication channels to a better understanding and a better relationship between father and son or mother and son. And by that way, for him to be there, to give me the time to listen to me, he could educate me. And it's not in the way that we think education means telling people what to do constantly. It simply meant that, okay, I give you my time, and then you listen to what I have to say if I think you can do things better. And the moment that information comes to you and you've got something that you can try out by crossing a river, like you said, if the river changes color, it means it's raining somewhere, and you might have a freak wave coming down this river. So watch for floating wood, for river color changes. And that is a good indication of what's happening in that river. So that's the information that he gave me. As a kid, I never knew that if the color of the water was going to change, it meant it rained somewhere or there was a thunderstorm. So his way of teaching me was with methods that I could use in what I loved doing. So when he arrived, he didn't speak to me. What was the most important thing for me in life is to be able to speak to my father, to share my experiences, to listen to what he thought was a better way or a more efficient way of doing things. And when he told me that I should get in the car and I'm not allowed to sit in the front seat anymore, I should sit in the back seat, I knew that, wow, something was terribly wrong. And on the drive back home, there was silence. And arriving back home, he said, listen, just go to your room and think a little bit on what you did. So I went into my room and I thought, and I could hear my brothers and sisters running around the house and my father playing with them and my mother there. We were all a happy family. And I was excluded from that. So there's a moment that I couldn't take it anymore. And I got out of my room and I walked to him and I asked him, why didn't he punish me? Why didn't he shout at me? Or why didn't he become angry? And he said, Mike, because I didn't do anything wrong. You did something wrong. And it's for you to explain to me why you did things wrong. It's not for me to punish what you did because I don't know what your thought process behind it was. So I understood punishment by the way that I explained it to him, that I was afraid that he would say no. And I was afraid that he wouldn't allow me to go. And I really wanted to go. And then he took the whole situation and said, listen, why didn't you just come to me and explain to me the reason why you wanted to do it clearly, not hide it, and we could have worked it out together. And that is a lot of educational information in that small little sentence. Let's do things together. Meaning that if you are a person that likes going out there and taking risks in whatever, if it's in your job or if it's in finance or if it's in science or in exploration or sport, shared information, working together with people that can help you and guide you to be able to take less risks and make the chance of getting to your goals and your objectives easier, then you can't make mistakes because you surround yourself with the best. And that is what I took out of that situation. And 2 weeks later, we got on the bikes together and we spent the weekend completely. My father was tired of cycling and he was tired of his son just wanting to cycle and to go out and to these places that maybe he never really wanted to go, but he was accompanying me, meaning that the time that was so valuable to him, he shared with me in making my dreams come true, not his dreams, my dreams. His reason was education. Mine was to be able to dream as a kid and to make these dreams come true. And while we're cycling on our way to the cousins that lived on the farm where I used to love riding horses and counting sheep and going out with my dog, he said to me something that really became a little bit the mantra of my life. And he said, Mike, I like the way you dream because you dream big. You look at solutions. And if your dreams don't scare you, your whole life, you're dreaming too small. And from that little kid being on that bike at 8 years old to a 56-year-old adult today, I still dream in the same way because my father told me that no matter how old you are, if you dream big and your dreams don't scare you, then they're not big enough.